Elena. The voice was so quiet it almost didn't exist. Park Ji-yun was standing in the middle of the bedroom in a dark suit, hands in his pockets, looking at his wife the way you look at a problem you've already solved but haven't announced yet. Elena was at the vanity, removing her earrings, one by one, slow and deliberate like she had all the time in the world and was enjoying using it. Elena, I'm going to say this once. Then say it, Elena said to the mirror. I won't touch you tonight. The second earring came out slower than the first. Elena set it down on the tray, turned around on the stool, looked at her husband with an expression that was almost impressed. Say that again. You heard me. No, I heard you. I want to make sure you heard yourself. Elena stood up. Because Ji-yun, baby, you haven't touched me in 4 months. 4. So what exactly are you threatening me with right now? What are you taking away? Because I genuinely want to know. Ji-yun said nothing. This isn't a punishment, Elena said, stepping closer. This is a confession. Something has your attention, and it isn't me and hasn't been me for a while, and you standing here telling me you won't touch me tonight is the most honest thing you've said in weeks. Go to sleep, Elena. Who is she? The room went very still. Ji-yun looked at his wife. His face gave nothing. It never did. That was the thing about Ji-yun that Elena had spent 7 years trying to crack. The man could be burning alive and his face would just say slightly warm in here. There's no one, Ji-yun said. There's always someone with you. Always some project. Some person you've decided to. Elena. Don't Elena me. Talk to me. Actually talk to me for once in. She stopped. Her eyes moved to the door. It was open. 3 inches. Maybe 4. The hallway beyond was dark, but Elena had spent 7 years in this house and she knew every shadow in it. Ji-yun, she said quietly. What? Is someone outside that door? Not a question. Ji-yun turned his head slowly and looked at the gap. The hallway was completely still. Then Ji-yun said it. Come. Clear. Like he was reading a name off a list he'd already memorized. Amara. In the hallway, Amara Osei stopped existing for approximately 5 seconds. She was holding fresh towels. She had come upstairs to stock the hallway closet. That was the whole job. That was all it was supposed to be. Stock the closet, go back downstairs, find whatever Felix left in the kitchen, go to sleep. But the door was open and the voices were there and she had stood there like a complete idiot and listened, and now her name was in the air like a flare going off and there was nowhere to go. She could run. She genuinely considered it. Full sprint down the hallway, down the stairs, out the front door, call the agency in the morning. Then Ji-yun's voice came again. Quieter. More deliberate. Come in. Amara closed her eyes for 1 second. Opened them. Walked in. The bedroom was large and bright after the dark hallway. Elena stood near the vanity with her arms folded and an expression doing several things at once. Ji-yun stood in the center of the room and looked at Amara the way you look at something you were already expecting. Amara held up the towels. I was stocking the closet, she said. Silence. The hallway closet. Not in here. I wasn't trying to, I just heard, the door was. How long were you standing there? Ji-yun asked. Quiet. Conversational. Which was somehow the most frightening version of that question. Amara thought about lying. She built the lie in her head. It was a good lie. She almost used it. Long enough, she said instead. Elena made a small sound. Not quite a laugh. Ji-yun looked at her for a long moment, reading her face like a document, checking for the clause that would cause problems. Put the towels down, Ji-yun said. Amara put the towels on the nearest surface. Go downstairs. Don't discuss what you heard. Not with Petra. Not with the sisters. Not with Felix. Not with anyone. I understand. Do you? Yes, sir. Ji-yun nodded once. Go. Amara turned. Walked to the door. She almost made it, hand on the frame, 1 foot already in the hallway. She's pretty, isn't she, Ji-yun? Amara stopped. She did not turn around. I'm just observing, Elena continued behind her, pleasant as anything. You noticed her. I can always tell when you notice something. You get very still. Like you're deciding whether to pick it up or leave it alone. Ji-yun said nothing. Go ahead, sweetheart, Elena said to Amara. Same word Ji-yun used. Completely different weight. Careful on the stairs. Amara walked out, pulled the door shut, stood in the dark hallway and breathed. Then she went downstairs and sat at the kitchen table and stared at the wall and tried to figure out when exactly this job had become something else entirely. If this opening just grabbed you, then hit that like button right now because we are only at the beginning and this man Park Ji-yun is not what he looks like. Not even close. She had been here 3 weeks. Amara Osei. 26. Lagos born, London raised. currently in Seoul and questioning every decision that led her here. Her mother was sick. The bills were real. The agency offered 3 times her last salary and she said yes before they finished the sentence. The house had 6 staff. Petra, who ran everything and had apparently never smiled in her life. Irina and Dasha, Romanian sisters who communicated mostly with each other. Felix, the cook, who was 60 years old and made food that felt like a hug and refused to discuss anything except food. And her. Park Ji-yeon ran 4 companies. That was the official version. The internet version said businessman, investor, philanthropist. The house version, the version you learn from how Petra's posture changed when Ji-yeon entered a room, from the locked east wing with the camera blinking red above the door, from the way Felix once said very quietly, "Don't ask questions about the cars that come at night." That version said something more complicated. Elena Volkovpark was his wife. Russian. Devastating to look at. Currently in a marriage that looked from the outside like a beautiful building with a serious structural problem nobody was fixing. Amara had watched all of this carefully from a safe distance. And then she had stood in a hallway like an idiot, and now Ji-yeon knew her name and Elena had called her pretty and the safe distance was gone. Morning. Breakfast. Ji-yeon at one end of the table, phone in hand, coffee black. Elena at the other end in a cream robe, moving through her fruit like it had personally disappointed her. Amara moved around the table and tried to be furniture. "I was thinking we should have the Kims for dinner this weekend," Elena said. "No," Ji-yeon said. "Why not? I'm busy." "You're always busy." Elena stirred her coffee. "Soo-jin Kim asks about you every time I see her. Every single time. She says your name like, Elena." "I'm making conversation. Make a different one." Amara refilled the juice glass and stared at a fixed point on the wall and became architecturally part of the room. "Amara," Ji-yeon said. The jug wobbled. "Yes, sir. More fruit from yesterday." "Ask Felix." "Of course." She went to the kitchen, came back, set the fruit down, stepped back. Simple. Normal. She was doing her job. But when she turned to leave, she felt it. Eyes on her back. She glanced back once. Ji-yeon was looking at his phone. Elena was looking at her. Not hostile. Calculating. Like a woman running numbers she hadn't shared with anyone yet. Amara left the room. Behind her she heard Elena say softly, "She never spills anything, does she?" And Ji-yeon said, "No, she doesn't." Amara kept walking. Her hands were completely steady and she had no idea how. Drop a comment right now. Are you Team Ji-yeon or Team Elena? Because Elena just showed us she is paying very close attention and I need to know whose side you're on. Thursday changed everything. Petra was sick. First time in 3 years, according to Irina, who said it the way you'd say the sun rose in the west. Irina and Dasha were managing a furniture delivery at the back. Felix was in his kitchen. Elena's car came at noon and took her somewhere she didn't explain. The house went quiet. Amara was cleaning the second-floor hallway when footsteps came up the stairs and stopped. She looked up. Ji-yeon. Dark shirt. Sleeves rolled to the elbow. No jacket, no phone in his hand. He looked like a slightly different person without the full armor on. Not softer. Just less fortified. "Come with me," Ji-yeon said. Amara followed him down the corridor toward the east wing. Ji-yeon stopped at the door, pressed the code. Amara looked at the ceiling and pushed it open. The office was not what Amara expected, and exactly what she should have expected. One entire wall was screens, maps, camera feeds from around the property, numbers scrolling, a large desk with 3 laptops open. A glass case on the far wall that Amara looked at once and then reclassified as something she had not seen. "The bookshelf," Ji-yeon said. "Dust it. Don't move anything." Amara got to work. She was 3 shelves in when she saw it. One of the screens on the wall. Third from the left. Mid-height. A camera feed. Dark corridor. Single light at the end. A door on the right side. Her door. The feed was live. The timestamp in the corner was ticking in real time. Amara's hand slowed on the shelf. She kept her face completely even. Kept moving the cloth. Shelf 4. Shelf 5. She had been watched this whole time. Every night she lay in that room thinking she was alone. There was a camera in that corridor pointed directly at her door, feeding into this room, where Ji-yeon could watch whenever he wanted. "You always stand exactly 3 seconds longer than necessary," Ji-yeon said behind her. Amara's hand stopped. "When you're curious about something," Ji-yeon continued, "you stand there 3 extra seconds while you decide if it's worth the risk. You did it in the doorway the first night. You did it in the dining room this morning. You're doing it now." Amara turned around slowly. Ji-yeon was at the desk looking at a laptop. He had not looked up. "You've been watching me," Amara said. "I watch everyone who lives in this house." "That's not an answer." Ji-yeon looked up now. "It's the only one I'm giving." Amara turned back to the shelf. Her hands were steady. She did not know how. Why am I really here, she said. Not the shelf. Why did you bring me into this room? Silence. Because I wanted to see what you'd do, Ji-yun said. When you saw the screen. And what did I do? Exactly what I thought you'd do. You saw it. You registered it. You kept working. You stored it. A pause. Most people panic. You filed it away. That's either very smart, Ji-yun said, or very trained. I haven't decided which. I'm a maid, sir. Not a spy. I know what you are. The way he said it made Amara's hand slow on the shelf again. Do you? Amara asked quietly. Ji-yun didn't answer that one. Finish the shelf, he said. If that East Wing scene just made your stomach drop, share this video right now because your friends need to be watching this with you. That evening Elena found her in the laundry room. She came in without knocking and leaned against the doorframe and watched Amara fold sheets without saying anything for long enough that it became its own kind of pressure. Amara kept folding. He took you into the East Wing, Elena said. I was asked to clean the bookshelf. He's never taken staff in there. Not once. In 7 years. Elena picked up a pillowcase from the basket and held it loosely. I've never even been in there. Amara looked up at that. Elena smiled. Surprised. Yes. My husband has a room in our house that I have never entered. That's the kind of marriage we have. She set the pillowcase down. I'm not warning you off him. I'm past that point. I'm just telling you the geography. Whatever he's doing with you is not nothing, Elena continued. Ji-yun doesn't do nothing. He doesn't make accidental moves. She moved toward the door. So the question you should be asking yourself is not what he wants from you. Then what's the question? Amara asked. Why you? Elena said. Out of everyone in the world. Why specifically you? She left. Amara stood there with a perfectly folded sheet in her hands and no memory of folding it. 11 p.m. Lights off. Amara staring at the ceiling. 2 quiet knocks. She opened the door. Ji-yun. Dark shirt. No jacket. Holding a small plate. Felix made too much jollof rice, Ji-yun said. You walked down 2 floors. I was passing. Your room is on the 3rd floor, sir. My room is on the ground floor. You weren't passing. Something moved in Ji-yun's expression. Very quick. Very controlled. Take the plate, Amara. Amara took it. They stood in the doorway and the house was completely quiet, and this was the strangest and most specific thing that had ever happened to her. The man who owned this building, who had camera feeds of her corridor in a private office, who had people arriving in black cars for meetings Felix told her to look away from. This man was standing at her door at 11 at night with leftover rice. You saw your own hallway on the screen, Ji-yun said. Yes. And you kept working. Yes. Why? Because you were watching to see if I'd panic, Amara said. And I didn't want to give you the satisfaction. Something moved in Ji-yun's jaw. Very slight. You always stand exactly 3 seconds longer than necessary, Amara said quietly, throwing the words back. When you're deciding something. You're doing it right now. Ji-yun looked at her. Elena was right, wasn't she? Amara continued. You noticed something. And now you're trying to figure out what to do with it. Elena talks too much. She told me to ask why me. Specifically me. Out of everyone. The hallway was completely silent. Ji-yun looked at her and for just 1 second, one unguarded second, something moved across his face that wasn't controlled. Wasn't calculated. Was just there, real and unedited, before he pulled it back. Lock your door tonight, he said quietly. You said that yesterday. I'm saying it again. He turned and walked down the hallway. Amara watched him go. The plate was warm in her hands and something in the air between them had moved from one place to another and there was no putting it back. Subscribe right now and hit the bell because what is coming next in this story is going to make you lose your mind and you cannot afford to miss it. Her phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. Unknown number. She opened it. You weren't supposed to hear that night. Stop watching. Go home. Amara read it 3 times. Sat up in the dark. That night. The bedroom. Ji-yun and Elena. The door that wasn't fully closed. Someone had been in that corridor watching her. Not through the cameras. Physically there. Someone who had seen everything she saw. Someone who was not Ji-yun because Ji-yun had acted genuinely surprised when Elena pointed to the door. A third person. Someone who had her number. Her throat went tight. She looked at Ji-yun's contact. Stared at it for a long time. She did not call. She put the phone down and lay in the dark and listened to the house breathe around her and thought about the camera feeds and the East Wing and 4 months of no contact and rice at 11 p.m. and why specifically you. She was putting something together in her head and she didn't have all the pieces yet, but the shape of it was becoming clear and the shape was not simple and was not safe and was not something a girl from Lagos who needed this job should be anywhere near. She stayed anyway. Friday. 2 black cars pulled up at 10 in the morning. Amara was in the entrance hall. She watched through the window. 4 men got out. Suits. Serious faces. One had a tattoo climbing up his neck. Petra appeared like she'd been summoned and led them toward the east wing without a word. 15 minutes later, a 3rd car. 2 more men. Felix materialized beside her at the window. Mop somewhere else, he said quietly. I'm almost done with this section. Amara. He said it soft. Warning wrapped in kindness. These men don't like being looked at. Go to the kitchen. Stay there. She looked at him. Felix. What is this house? He was quiet for a moment. It's a house where you keep your head down and keep your job and go home every month with more money than you'd make anywhere else. He picked up her mop bucket and handed it to her. That's what kind of house it is. She took the bucket, went to the kitchen, sat down. 10 minutes later, Ji-yeon walked past the kitchen doorway in a sharper, darker suit and did not look in but slowed, just slightly, as he passed the door. Like he knew Amara was sitting there. Like he was checking. Then he was gone. Amara sat there and thought about all of it. The camera feeds. The East Wing. The cars. Felix's face. The text message. Why specifically you? She was in something. She couldn't see all of it yet, but she could feel the edges of it, and the edges were not soft. She found the photograph by accident. Petra was sick. Her office door had swung open on its own the way old doors do on uneven floors. Amara was passing and looked in. Corkboard on the wall. Schedules. Rotas. Maintenance notes. Normal. She was about to look away when she saw it in the bottom right corner, half tucked behind a grocery list. A photograph. Black and white. Printed on plain paper. Grainy like a screenshot from a camera feed. A corridor. Dark. Single light at the end. Her corridor. And standing in it, face slightly turned, towels in her hands, her. Amara. The night of the bedroom. Before she heard anything. Before she even reached the door. Someone had printed this. Someone had pinned it here. Underneath it in small neat handwriting that was not Petra's, 2 words. She knows. Amara stood there. Then she took the photograph off the board. She walked upstairs. She was in the upper hallway, photograph in hand, heart doing something complicated in her chest, when the east wing door opened and Ji-yeon walked out and nearly walked into her. They both stopped. Ji-yeon looked at her. Then at what was in her hands. His eyes dropped to the photograph. Came back up to Amara's face. Something moved through his expression like weather passing through. Quick and complicated. Where did you get that? Ji-yeon said. Petra's office. The board. Ji-yeon took it from her hands. Looked at it once. Folded it. Come with me, he said. Comment right now. Who do you think put that photograph on the board? Drop your theory because I want to see if anyone figures this out before the reveal. Back in the East Wing. All screens active. The room charged and humming. Ji-yeon locked the door behind them. That was new. Amara stood in the center of the room and kept her breathing even and her face neutral and told herself this is fine. This is fine. This is absolutely fine. Sit, Ji-yeon said. Amara sat. Ji-yeon didn't sit. He stood at the desk and looked at the folded photograph and then at Amara. The photograph was put there 3 days ago, Ji-yeon said. By someone who wanted it found. By you? Amara asked. No. By Petra. No. Then who? Ji-yeon set the photograph on the desk. There is someone in this house who is not staff and not family. They have been here for 2 weeks. In the east corridor. The room at the end of your hallway. Amara went very still. I know they're there, Ji-yeon said. I put them there. What I did not know was that they had your number. What I did not know was that they had been watching you specifically. He paused. That photograph means they've moved outside the arrangement. What arrangement? Amara said. Ji-yeon looked at her steadily. What are they? Amara asked. Who is in that room? Someone I brought here for protection, Ji-yeon said. Protection of their life. Someone I made a promise to keep safe. Who are you protecting? Amara asked. The room was completely quiet. The screens hummed. Outside the window, one of the black cars sat in the driveway, a man standing beside it with his hands clasped, looking at nothing. Before I answer that, Ji-yeon said, I need to know something from you. What? The text told you to go home. You didn't go. He looked at her steadily. Why? Amara looked back at him. This man who watched camera feeds at 2 in the morning. Who brought rice to her door. who had just locked them both in a room while a meeting happened downstairs, and a stranger lived at the end of her corridor, and a photograph with her face on it had been pinned to a board with the words she knows underneath it. Because I started something, I don't know how to leave, Amara said. Started what? Ji-yeon said quietly. The words sat between them. Neither of them answered it. Ji-yeon turned to the screens. Pulled up a camera feed on the largest one. A small room. A young Korean man sitting at a table inside it, looking at his phone. His name is Lee Juno, Ji-yeon said. He's been in that room for 14 days. Someone in the city wants him dead. I told his father I would keep him safe. He texted me, Amara said. Yes. Why? Because he's been watching the corridor feeds from his room. He saw you outside the bedroom that night. He saw everything. Ji-yeon's voice stayed level. And he became concerned. About what? Ji-yeon turned from the screen and looked at her. About me, he said simply. Amara stood up slowly. They were close in the small space between the chair and the desk. Closer than they'd been before. Ji-yeon did not step back. He thinks you're making a decision that will complicate things, Amara said. He is not wrong, Ji-yeon said. Would it be simpler if I left? Amara asked. Yes, Ji-yeon said. But you didn't tell me to leave. No. You brought me rice. Yes. You came to my door 2 nights in a row. Yes. And you brought me into this room. Yes. Amara looked at him. So which is it? Am I a complication or are you making a decision? Ji-yeon looked back at her. And for the first time since Amara had walked through those gates, Park Ji-yeon looked like someone who did not have an answer already prepared. I don't know yet, he said. It was the most honest thing he had ever said to anyone in a very long time. Like this video right now if Ji-yeon just made your heart do something it wasn't supposed to do. Because I know. Share this with someone who needs to see this story. She found out what kind of danger she was in at 11 that night. Walking back to her room from the kitchen, she turned into her corridor and stopped. The door at the end. Lee Juno's door. Open. The room beyond it dark. She walked to it slowly. Looked inside. Empty. The table. The chair. The phone charger still plugged into the wall. The sheets on the small bed folded back like someone had left in a hurry. Or been taken in a hurry. She turned around. Ji-yeon was standing at the entrance to the corridor. Different expression. Not the controlled one. Not the unguarded 11 p.m. version. Something new. Something tight around the eyes and jaw that Amara had never seen on him before. He's gone, Ji-yeon said. I can see that. Someone took him. From inside this house. Amara's stomach dropped. How? That is what I need to find out. Ji-yeon looked at her. I need to know exactly what his message said. Every word. I told you everything. I know. I believe you. Ji-yeon stepped closer. Amara. In the last 2 days did you see anyone near this corridor that you didn't recognize? Anyone who wasn't staff? Amara thought. Then she thought about something else. The delivery on Thursday, she said slowly. Irina and Dasha were at the back managing it. There were 4 men with them. Yes. I only saw 2 of them carry furniture. Ji-yeon went very still. The other 2, Amara said. I thought they were just waiting. They were standing near the side gate. The gate that connects to the east corridor entrance. Ji-yeon turned immediately. Ji-yeon. He stopped. Is he alive? Amara asked. The boy in that room. Is he still alive? Ji-yeon looked at her. I don't know, he said. And it cost him something to say it. You could see the crack in the control. Small but real. The first genuinely undefended thing this man had shown her. Then go, Amara said. Go find out. Ji-yeon looked at her for 1 more second. Then he was gone. Amara stood in the empty corridor outside an empty room and listened to the house shift above her. Voices. Low and quick. Doors. Footsteps. She stood there and understood what she was actually in the middle of. Not a slow burn romance in a big beautiful house. Something with real stakes. Real danger. A boy taken from a room 20 feet from where she slept. People who knew the layout of this house, who had come through the side gate, who had been here on Thursday, which meant they had been watching before Thursday. Watching everyone. Including her. She went to her room. Locked the door. Sat on the bed. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Different from before. 1 line. Asterisk you should have gone home when he told you to. Now it's too late. Asterisk Amara read it once. Put the phone in her pocket. Stood up. Walked out of her room, down the corridor, up the stairs, all the way to the east wing door and knocked 3 times. The door opened in 4 seconds. Ji-yeon stood there. Phone in one hand. Jacket off. Expression doing several things at once. Amara held up her phone with the message on screen. Ji-yun read it. His face went very quiet. The specific kind of quiet that was not peace. That was before something. He stepped back from the door. "Come in," he said. "And don't go back to that room tonight." Amara walked in. The door closed behind her. And somewhere in the city, in a car moving fast through rain-soaked streets, Lee Juno sat in the back seat with his hands bound and looked out the window and thought about the maid who hadn't left when he told her to. And whether that was going to get her killed. Or save his life. If that ending just stopped your heart, then you already know what to do. Like this video. Share it right now with everyone you know who loves a story that hits different. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss part 2 because somebody in that house is a traitor. Lee Juno is in that car. Ji-yun is about to show you exactly who he really is, and Amara has just made the most dangerous decision of her life by walking through that door. Part 2 is coming. And nobody is safe. Ji-yun did not sleep. Amara could tell because she had been sitting in the East Wing for 3 hours and Ji-yun had not stopped moving once. Phone calls in Korean, low and fast. Typing. Pulling up feeds. Switching cameras. Cross-referencing something on 2 laptops at the same time like his brain ran on a different processing speed than everyone else. Amara sat in the corner chair and watched and said nothing. This was a different Ji-yun. Not the controlled breakfast table version. Not the 11 p.m. rice at the door version. This was the real one. The one underneath all the suits and the carefully managed silences. Sharp and fast and completely without mercy in the way he moved through information. It was the most frightening thing Amara had ever found attractive. She pushed that thought away immediately. "The side gate," Ji-yun said without looking up. "It requires a code to open from outside. 3 people in this house have that code." "Who?" Amara said. "Me, Petra, and Felix." Amara went still. Ji-yun looked up now. "I know what you're thinking." "Felix told me to go to the kitchen," Amara said slowly. "He got me out of the entrance hall before the second cars arrived." "Yes." "He sent me to Petra's office to find the photograph." "Yes." Ji-yun. Amara sat forward. "Felix has been in this house longer than anyone. He knows every schedule, every delivery, every person who comes through. He knew about the furniture delivery. He knew Irina and Dasha would be at the back managing it." Ji-yun looked at her for a long moment. "I know," he said quietly. "Then why are we still sitting here?" "Because Felix has been with me for 9 years, Ji-yun said. "And because if I'm wrong about him, I burn a relationship I cannot replace. And because..." He stopped. "Because what?" "Because Felix sent you to find that photograph," Ji-yun said. "Which means either he is the traitor covering his tracks in a very complicated way. Or he found out someone else's and he was trying to tell you without telling you." Amara sat back. "Felix doesn't take risks," Ji-yun continued. "He doesn't do anything directly. He never has. If he knew something he wouldn't come to me. He would find an indirect way to surface it. Like sending the new maid to find a photograph on a corkboard," Amara said. "Yes." They looked at each other. "Then who has the code?" Amara said. "Besides the 3 of you." Ji-yun turned back to his laptop. "That," he said, "is the right question. If you are watching this at midnight with your phone brightness all the way down, then you already know this story has you. Hit that like button right now because Ji-yun is about to find something that changes everything." It took him 40 minutes. Amara watched him work through it. Camera timestamps. Access logs. Entry records from the gate system going back 3 weeks. Ji-yun pulled it all up and moved through it with the focus of someone who had done this many times before, who knew exactly what he was looking for and exactly where it would hide. Amara got up quietly and stood behind him and looked at the screens. Ji-yun did not tell her to sit back down. "There," Ji-yun said. He pointed at a timestamp on the gate access log. Tuesday. 4 days ago. 2:47 a.m. Side gate opened from outside. Code entered correctly. Duration. Gate open 4 minutes. Then closed. Nobody was scheduled to be at that gate at 2:47 in the morning, Ji-yun said. "Who entered the code?" Amara asked. Ji-yun pulled up another screen. The code entry log. Each code use was tagged to a specific registered user. He clicked on the 2:47 a.m. entry. The name that came up was not Petra. It was not Felix. Amara read it and felt the floor shift. Elena Volkov Park. Ji-yun did not move for a full 10 seconds. Amara stood behind him and looked at the name on the screen and thought about every conversation. Every carefully placed word. Every observation delivered with that pleasant, devastating smile. "She never spills anything, does she? Why specifically you?" "I observe things. It's one of my few remaining hobbies." Elena had been in that corridor. Elena had been outside the bedroom door before Amara even got there. Elena had seen Amara standing there and had said nothing and then come back into the bedroom and pointed to the door herself. Told Ji-yun someone was there. Performed the discovery. She knew I was there before you called my name, Amara said quietly. Yes, Ji-yun said. His voice had gone to a place Amara hadn't heard before. Flat and cold in a way that had nothing to do with composure. This was something older than composure. Something that had been building for a long time and had just found its confirmation. The photograph, Amara said. She put it there. Yes. She wanted me to find it. She wanted me scared enough to come to you. She wanted me inside this wing tonight. Ji-yun stood up from the desk. She wanted me distracted, Ji-yun said. While the men came for Juno, the room was very quiet. She told them about the side gate, Amara said. She gave them the timing. The furniture delivery. She knew Irina and Dasha would be at the back. She knew the east corridor entrance would be unwatched. She has known the layout of this operation for 7 years, Ji-yun said. She has sat in this house and listened and observed He stopped. Something moved across his face. Not anger. Something more painful than anger. The specific hurt of someone who protected everything except the thing closest to them. Ji-yun, Amara said. Don't. I'm not going to say anything. Good. Amara paused. I'm just here. Ji-yun looked at her. That unguarded thing came back to his face. Stayed longer this time. Long enough that it wasn't a flash anymore. It was just there, real and undefended. Then he picked up his phone. Made a call. Said 3 words in Korean. Hung up. What did you say? Amara asked. I told them where to find her, Ji-yun said. Elena left the house at 11. She's not at a restaurant. Where is she? With the people who have Juno. Ji-yun picked up his jacket from the back of the chair. Which means I know where Juno is. He put the jacket on. Every button. Top to bottom. The armor going back on in real time. Stay in this room, he said to Amara. Lock the door from inside. Don't open it for anyone except me. How will I know it's you? Ji-yun looked at her. I'll knock 3 times. Then once. Then twice. That's very spy of you. Something moved at the corner of Ji-yun's mouth. Almost a smile. Not quite. But close enough that Amara felt it in her chest. Lock the door, Ji-yun said. And he left. Share this video right now. Your friends are sleeping and they should not be sleeping, they should be watching this. Tag someone in the comments right now who needs to see what Elena just did because I cannot believe her either. Amara locked the door. Sat at Ji-yun's desk. Looked at the screens. She found the external camera feeds and pulled them up one by one. Front gate. Side gate. Garden. The street beyond the main wall. Nothing moving. The house was completely still from the outside. Just a big beautiful building in the rain with all its lights on. She thought about Elena. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of sitting at that breakfast table cutting fruit and making pointed conversation and observing everything. 7 years of knowing exactly what Ji-yun was and choosing to use it instead of leaving. She thought about the laundry room. Elena picking up that pillowcase. I'm not warning you off. I'm past that point. She hadn't been warning Amara off. She had been setting her up. Every word in that laundry room had been designed to push Amara closer to Ji-yun. To make Amara feel like the answer to the question why specifically you. To make her feel significant, chosen. To get her invested enough to stay in this house, close enough to Ji-yun to be a distraction at exactly the right moment. Amara sat with that for a while. The feeling of having been played was not pleasant. But underneath it was something else. Something Elena had not planned for. Because the thing about being used to distract someone was that it only worked if the distraction was one-sided. And Ji-yun had come to her door 2 nights in a row. With rice. Without excuse. It took 2 hours. Amara had almost fallen asleep in the chair when she heard it. 3 knocks. 1 knock. 2 knocks. She unlocked the door. Ji-yun walked in. He looked different. Not disheveled exactly. Just used. Like the last 2 hours had taken something from him that he hadn't budgeted for. His jacket was still on but 1 button was undone at the collar. His hair slightly off from where it had been. Behind him, Felix appeared in the doorway. He looked at Amara. She looked at him. You found the photograph on the board, he said. You sent me to find it, she said. He nodded slowly. I found it 2 days ago. I didn't know who put it there. I knew it meant someone was watching you. I didn't know how to tell him, he glanced at Ji-yun. Without proof. So I needed you to find it and bring it to him yourself. That is the most complicated way to deliver information I have ever heard, Amara said. Felix almost smiled. In this house you learn not to say things directly. Ji-yun looked at him. Go to bed, Felix. Is the boy, he's safe. Go to bed. Felix looked at Amara one more time. Something in his eyes that was close to an apology. Then he left. Amara looked at Ji-yun. Lee Juno, she said. Safe. Shaken. His father has been called. Ji-yun sat down heavily in the chair across from the desk. Not his usual chair. The visitor's chair. Like he didn't have the energy to be on the commanding side of the desk right now. And Elena, Amara said. Ji-yun was quiet for a moment. Elena made a choice, he said. A long time ago, it seems. Tonight was just the execution of it. What happens to her? That's not your concern. Ji-yun. He looked up. Is she going to be okay? Amara said. Not because she felt warmly toward Elena. Because she needed to know what kind of world she was standing in right now. Ji-yun looked at her steadily. She will be handled in a way that is appropriate to what she did. She will not be harmed beyond what is necessary. That is all I will say. Amara nodded slowly. The room was quiet. Outside the rain had stopped. The screens hummed. The timestamps kept ticking in the corner of every feed. You should sleep, Ji-yun said. So should you. I have things to finish. They'll be there in 3 hours, Amara said. They'll still need finishing after you've slept. Ji-yun looked at her. You're very comfortable telling me what to do, he said. Not a complaint. Almost curious. Someone has to be, Amara said. The corner of Ji-yun's mouth moved. This time it made it all the way. Small. Real. The first complete smile Amara had seen on his face in 3 weeks. It lasted about 2 seconds. Then Ji-yun looked away and the composure came back and he was himself again. But those 2 seconds were real and Amara had seen them and they both knew it. Subscribe right now if you are not already subscribed because we are about to land this story and I promise you this ending is going to sit with you for a long time. 3 days passed. The house reorganized itself quietly the way houses do after something breaks inside them. Irina and Dasha cleaned Elena's dressing room without being told to. Felix cooked more than usual, which was his way of processing things. Petra came back from her sick leave and walked through the house with the expression of someone who had been briefed and was choosing not to have feelings about it. New staff came to manage the East Corridor. Professional. Quiet. They looked at Amara once and then treated her as part of the furniture, which she understood was actually a form of respect in this house. Lee Juno left on the second day. A car came and took him and he was gone. Amara watched from the kitchen window. He was young. Early 20s. He looked smaller in daylight than he had on the camera feed. Before he got into the car he looked up at the house and his eyes found the kitchen window and found her and he held her gaze for a moment. Then he got in the car. She never saw him again. Ji-yun worked. That was what Ji-yun did in the aftermath of things. He worked. He was in the East Wing from early morning until late. He ate at his desk. He took meetings. He managed whatever needed managing in the world outside this house that Amara still only understood the edges of. They did not speak privately for 3 days. It was fine. Amara told herself it was fine. She had a job. She did it. She cleaned and set tables and helped Felix and kept her head down and reminded herself 17 times a day that she was an employee and this was a workplace and whatever had passed between her and Ji-yun in those strange compressed days was a product of adrenaline and proximity and nothing more. She believed this approximately 0%. On the third night she was in her room reading when she heard it. 2 quiet knocks. Not 3. Not 312. Just 2. Soft. Like someone who had stood outside a door for a while before deciding to knock. She opened it. Ji-yun. No plate. No excuse. Dark shirt. Hair slightly down from its usual position. He looked like someone who had finished something and then walked here without fully planning to. That 11 p.m. version. The less fortified one. He looked at Amara. Amara looked at him. You're not holding anything, Amara said. No. No rice. No. No reason to be here. No, Ji-yun said quietly. No reason. They stood there. The hallway was completely dark and quiet around them, and the house was settled and still, and there was nothing urgent happening anywhere. No missing person. No traitor. No anonymous text. No crisis requiring management. Just this. Just a man standing at a door at 11 at night with no excuse left. I owe you something, Ji-yun said. You don't owe me anything. I put you in danger, Ji-yun said. By noticing you. By coming to your door. By bringing you into that room. Elena saw it before I was willing to admit it and she used it and you could have been. He stopped. I put you in danger. That is not something I take lightly. I stayed, Amara said. Every time you gave me a reason to leave, I stayed. That was my choice. Why? Ji-yun said. The question was simple and enormous at the same time. Amara looked at him. This man who ran operations and watched camera feeds and kept people safe and had spent 9 years building walls so high that even the person he married couldn't get over them. Because you brought me rice, Amara said. And you didn't have a good reason. And I think that scared you more than anything that happened in this house this week. Ji-yun looked at her. It did, he said. Simply. Directly. Like he was reading something off a document and had decided to stop pretending the document didn't exist. Amara felt something loosen in her chest. What do you want, Ji-yun? She said softly. Not what's smart. Not what's manageable. What do you actually want? The hallway was silent. Ji-yun looked at her for a long moment. Then he took one step forward. Just one. Closing the distance between doorway and doorframe to almost nothing. Close enough that Amara could see the exact moment the composure stopped being a performance and started being something real underneath it. Something that had been there the whole time. I want. Ji-yun started. His phone rang. They both went still. It rang again. Ji-yun closed his eyes for exactly 1 second. Opened them. The expression on his face was something between exhausted and something that might have been funny if the timing were different. He looked at his phone. His face changed. Not the emotional change. The other one. The operational one. The one that meant something was happening somewhere that required Park Ji-yun and not this softer, less fortified version of him. He looked at Amara. I have to. I know, Amara said. This isn't. Ji-yun paused. Looked at her. I'll come back. You always come back, Amara said. That's the thing about you. Ji-yun looked at her one more moment. Then he answered the phone and walked down the hallway, and his voice shifted back into that fast, low operational Korean, and he was around the corner and gone. Amara stood in her doorway. She leaned against the frame, looked at the empty hallway, and smiled. Not because everything was resolved. Not because the world outside those gates was safe or simple, or because Park Ji-yun was an easy man to know. But because he had just said, I'll come back. And in this house, from this man, those 3 words were the most dangerous and the most honest thing he could have said. Amara went back inside. Left the door unlocked. And waited. If this ending just did something to your chest, then you know what to do. Like this video. Share it with everyone you know who loves a story that hits different. Comment below and tell me, did you see Elena coming or did she get you? And tell me what you want to happen when Ji-yun comes back, because I read every single comment.